writer, the movement person can actually dramaturg you through movement lah.
The dramaturg is not necessary. But I think these two processes is very different.
Looking at dramaturgical practices is more beneficial.
We'd like to hear, and we'd like to kind of close the event by hearing some interesting questions, comments, thoughts that you would like to throw into the pot at this stage in our afternoon. And that can be either an emergent thought that you're having right now as a result of what you've been listening to, or something that's been there nagging for a while, something that you heard in your group sessions or in what was spoken by the presenters today, just to kind of keep the ball rolling and keep us thinking and provoking and prodding us to think further. So would anybody like to start? Just raise your hand so we can pass you a mic so that we can hear you clearly in our documentation. If not, I will choose, you know. Leisha goes up immediately.
I have a feeling you'll choose. Anyway. Yes, I'll just repeat what I said in the smaller group earlier. Because I said that I agreed with Poitin. I kind of questioned the need for a dramaturg in our theatre climate now. Rather than talking about dramaturgs, I think it's, for me at least, it's more important to think about dramaturgical practices, or as Mark said, qualities, and how we can think from a more dramaturgical point of view. And I think, and then also Ridwan brought up something interesting, because he said, after I said that, he said, yeah, when, in architecture, in the time of Imhotep, they didn't have engineers, so they used mathematicians. But basically, engineering had already existed, they just didn't call it that. So he was like, are we at a time now where dramaturgy exists, but dramaturgs not necessarily? And I think my response to that is I kind of agree with that, because now to be an engineer, you go to college for 3 or 4 years, and it's a practice that you practice and you keep learning about, and you go to conferences to learn more about. And I think if we want dramaturgs, or if we want to be dramaturgs, I think we need to take that initiative onto ourselves as well, to practice and to train ourselves. I don't think, because I'm very wary about people just coming up and saying, I'm a dramaturg. Because I think, and because what's interesting just now was we were trying to figure out what dramaturgy is, and we forget the main word that comes from dramaturgy, which is drama. Dramaturgy is basically the manipulation of drama within a performance space or a performance. And I think that's something that it'll be interesting to see people be highly specific in the manipulation of drama. Yeah, that's my thing.
Saya rasa dramaturgy ni berdasarkan perbincangan pada hari ini, I think the main thing is to understand the agenda, right? Sesiapa pun di dalam production perlu faham agenda production itu. Tak kisah dia seorang yang menggelarkan diri mereka seorang dramaturg ataupun tidak. Dan ini saya rasa berbeza, agenda setiap individu di dalam production itu berbeza. Dan jika kita ada satu agenda yang jelas dan memahami agenda itu, saya rasa itu kita sudah melakukan kerja-kerja dramaturgi, kerana kita cuba menyusun ini agenda produksi, ini agenda saya, ini agenda production, ini agenda negara dan sebagainya. Saya rasa selagi kita memahami dan cuba mencari dan memahami agenda itu, saya kira dia sudah menjadi satu kerja-kerja dramaturgi. Yeah.
Okay, just small sharing about a metaphor I just jump in my mind when I listen to, I don't know, whatever pairs are then, and also as a response to a few points from Jeanette, that I think dramaturgy for me is like to form a map towards a direction. So the needs of a dramaturg is like, we need Waze, we need GPS, so that as a director myself, I won't get lost. So because in my experience, like also what JS was talking about, like when we didn't have this idea of dramaturg or someone sitting beside us. So when we create a thing during the progress, it's always lost, and then we have to split our mind to another mind. So we need to talk to ourselves. Hey, is that okay? Or I think not working. So it's kind of cycle. So and also, but that's fine. So somehow we are still here. We are still normal. So I think it's not a big problem. But concerning what Janet was talking about, no, I think whoever about the quick change word that we are facing now, I think maybe there's really a need of dramaturg, or maybe we can call it other names like observer, or someone sit beside us to help to have this conversation, this dialogue, to make sure that the map is still there and the direction is still there. And also something additional I just think of about tangible and intangible. What Janet was saying is the difference between director and dramaturg is that director need to deal with the problem of concrete part. But for me, it's kind of tricky that because I also felt that dramaturg is also function as a person who help the director to make clear the concrete. Because I myself, I didn't work with dramaturg. I was like self-dramaturg. I face problem like sometimes that I get into, you know, when we work with imagination, it's very easy to get into so much intangible thing. And then maybe a voice, like maybe my wife just told me, hey, it doesn't work out. Maybe you should try this, try that. And then she functioned as a dramaturg for myself. So to wake me up, so, oh, okay, maybe I should work toward that concrete. So yeah, that's what my...
Share a bit. Actually, I at the beginning, I'm not really interested in dramaturgy, but when I read the dramaturgy book, I felt interesting is because, especially from the last year, our government, our country changed and reformed. So I felt even nowadays, I interested in thinking about even the culture, even the performing art. We need to think how we're going to reform. How we going, because like the dramaturgy is a new idea. How we can use this new idea to starting point to let all the theater practitioner, even the people to think about how we're going to move on for doing performing art and create your work and even program performances in theater. Even our government, JKKN, how we're going to develop our art for people. So I felt this is very important as a dramaturgy thinking starting point to let us to think about how we're going to move on and reform for the next. This, for me, is very important.
So maybe just following on from what Kokman is saying, it's something I've been thinking a lot about as well. It's partly related to the change last year, or the non-change. Let's not go there. Yeah. But separate discussion. Another 3 hours. But actually, I think in terms of connecting the micro and the macro, to use terms that have been we heard about today, I think one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is, you know, there's actually more than ever before. More performances, more festivals, more theater practitioners, more performing arts schools, more graduates, more venues, just more than ever before, right? So what needs to be less? And that's something I'm thinking a lot about without any clear answers. And I think one of the things, the overall dramaturgy, I mean, who runs the festivals? Who gives funding? I think is something that we can also think about and critique and analyze for ourselves. Because I think that you know, there's a lot of festivals now, and I think it creates a particular type of work. You know, like there is a festival dramaturgy of a lot of 10-minute pieces. You know, copy and paste, bring here, bring here, bring here, bring here, bring here, just convert a little bit. We give you like 2 extra lights. And so there's a lot of that, and I think that also affects how people work and how they create. Everything is short-term, everything is small, everything is cheap. So that's just something to think about as well. So when we accept festivals, what are we also accepting? And we're accepting support and we're accepting funding to connect. Because I think Janet introduced the idea of like if you're working in participatory dramaturgy, like you may be working with NGOs or civil society groups, they are a source of support and a source of income. But then there are other sources of income and sources of support as well. So how does this support and income impact us? Just a question for everyone. Yeah.
Juno brought up something that's interesting because she wrote a piece, am I not right, that was all stage direction. She's a writer. And she said when she actually, if she had that that opportunity to have a dialogue with the performer, say a Butoh performer, then she would post that dialogue, or during the dialogue, she would write totally differently the stage directions for the performer. And I think that transdisciplinary or intercultural or intergender kind of work may require dramaturgy, whether it's the 2 people capable of doing it, the 2 people having that interdisciplinary or inter whatever dialogue. So intercultural, interdisciplinary is another area where dramaturgy may be needed.
Just to add on to that, Ken Takiguchi, whom some of you may know, and who is a dramaturg, often talks about the importance of translation because that's how he became a dramaturg. He was involved in a production that involved translation from Japanese to English, English to Japanese, and he realized that he could not just be a translator. He needed to dramaturg because context and cultural meaning was so important. And I think in relation to the interdisciplinary, the intercultural, and all these inters, it becomes even more acute. Because then the dramaturg, or whatever you want to call this person who is occupying that role, has to take on a lot of ethical considerations. So it could be a disability project, in which case then there are a whole politics there. Just one other comment. Someone called Peter Eckersall has written about slow dramaturgy. It may be something to look up, but literally the idea of slow dramaturgy, where the sense of time and the sense of the work is actually asking questions about time and the conversation and pace, slow dramaturgy.
I was just remembering when I first heard the word dramaturg, and I still have difficulty with it because it was 1997, and I was in a project. It was just a 2-3 people project, and it was about the concept was that it's a magical karaoke session, and all kinds of things happen in that karaoke, depending on what song comes up. I was the writer with a musician, and the musician was Australian. We were in Melbourne, and we had got funding from the, what's the Asia Arts Council, Australian, sorry, it's Asia Works or something like that. Is this comes out of Melbourne? Asia Link, thank you, yeah. So, and we were not communicating. Not communicating on any kind of level. And whereas we had before, and then suddenly we got the money and then the pressure on, and it was really difficult. And somebody said, what about a dramaturg? And I honestly, sumpah, I heard dramaturg, okay? Dramatai, or whatever. And I really, who is this person? You know, really. And when I think about it now, and I followed dramaturgy through probably more academic kind of sense and tried to understand more of what it is, and now it's so many years later. But what strikes me, depending on the point of view, is that it doesn't matter so much about what the occupation is, because I think I like the distinction between what the person does full time and what they actually do. because it's still hard for me to say. It still is, and I think the discomfort with it is something that's a good thing. It kind of takes up space somewhere like in corporate circles now people talk about disruptor. Everything is being disrupted. I think that's to a certain extent what dramaturg does, and it is. You can be solving problems, but actually you're upsetting the persons involved who think they know or are fixed on a certain way, and then they have difficulty. It's sulit. It cannot be, move forward without this kind of skill to either understand whether it could be anything, gender, sexuality, but you have cast that person to come and help you. And you can, and hopefully they will help you. Because the other thing, the last point is that someone said, oh no, you know what a dramaturg is? It's an out-of-work director. That's how I understood it. That's how, in Melbourne at the time, that's what a dramaturg actually is, So I think that the word itself is still difficult for me to say, and that's a good thing. It is a role that you, so thank you. Terima kasih.
Anyone else?
This is something that just reminds me of when I started working at KOTAK as a technical coordinator. One of the things was we usually ask productions, who's your stage manager? But a lot of productions have worked without a stage manager, especially if you come from a more community-based project or a small project and stuff, or where's your lighting plot? Why do you need a lighting plot? You just point. And I think it's just after a point, or it's even the same thing of if you have a technical coordinator or your stage manager, why can they not also be an actor in it? Why can they not also be, one of the technicians? Then I was saying, usually when things go well, it's fine. It's when shit happens. Because there's no one who's seeing on the outside. So then you are asking this person, but it's like asking the toe what happened to the body. And so, but the toe only sees the ground. They're not seeing the sky, they're not seeing the space that's moving around. So that person can only hear that. And then I was talking to another colleague of mine who was also we're talking him as a dramaturg and an actor. As an actor or even as a director-actor, especially with theater, because in film you can go step back, okay, you look at it, make some comments, and then you go back into it. But as theater, it happens live. And sometimes things that you are not hearing in words might be happening in sound, but you are not looking at it. So how do you see that? And then if you're an actor, you're also dealing with your actor kind of things. So then you do not actually sense the whole, the whole flow of it. And so there's that thing as well. And then at the same time, the other thing is the power structure. And I as a performer, I don't think I can dramaturg and be a performer at the same time because it's two different parts of the brain. I would really prefer to have that dramaturg there that's okay, I have all these questions, blah, 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 blah. You throw it on the floor, but it's not my responsibility to organize that, articulate that and stuff like that, but it's on the floor for the whole group to process. Hopefully either the director or the designers and the dramaturg together put that in, but as a performer I can just okay, what do I do in this moment? Just, so that otherwise I'm negotiating 120 things happening at the same time, and there's so many, and I've come to a point where good for one person is so different from good to another person that, okay, when you just say good, I'm what good are you talking about here? So this kind of just helps that process. Something, that situation is similar.
Great. Yeah, please, Fauzi, go for it. Maybe last comment and then kita bungkus.
Okay, I share je lah sebab sebab I nampak banyak benda ni berlaku dalam teater untuk dance for my experience lah kan. Mostly I banyak bekerja dengan artistic director. So mostly you dalam production you choreograph and then you banyak berdialog dengan artistic director lah. Tapi now I nampak dramaturg recently macam satu fenomena. Yes, sebab I pun ada kawan Indonesia and now I tengok yang banyak menggunakan dramaturg. So bila kita tengok satu produksi tu, bila ada je dramaturge, dia nampak bentuk eksklusif. Nampak okay, dramaturge and then choreographer and then some collaborator lah. Tapi I nampak benda tu macam sometimes mengganggu, bukan nak kata mengganggu lah, maksudnya director ataupun choreographer tu macam hilang specialities power tu. Sebab orang kan nampak dramaturge ataupun dramaturge tu nampak memakan hak koreografer, kuasa tu lah, kuasa koreografer tu nampaknya. Tapi buat masa sekarang saya belum bekerja dengan dramaturge lagi. Mungkin kalau ada peluang mungkin nak cuba ada experience tu. Bila I dengar cerita and then isu-isu kat sini, dia nampak macam sometimes dia melambatkan proses creativity tu sometimes. Melainkan you choose dramaturge tu close dengan you and then faham you punya work macam mana. So mungkin dialog tu mungkin tak terlampau membebankan creator tu sendirilah sebenarnya. Dan mostly bila I nampak dari segi dance, I nampak dramaturge tu mungkin penting dari segi full length work, bukan short work. Sebab short work tu mungkin choreographer tu sendiri boleh mengekspresikan everything kat situ. Tapi untuk full length work tu dia mungkin terlampau susah kerana banyak lapisan dalam segi performance tu sendirilah kat situ. And tu je lah kot. Mungkin tu je lah.
No, thank you, because in our group earlier, one of the things that I brought up is sometimes there's this mistaken notion that the dramaturg is some kind of mentor or expert to give a kind of stamp of approval that this is a valid or, other standard, ISO 9000 kind of situation. And I think that's very problematic because it suggests that the artists don't know what they're doing, which then will create that kind of resistance to the role of a dramaturg. So that is a problematic situation. It does happen. I won't deny it does happen. And sometimes funding depends on whether you have a dramaturg in your team or not. And that also creates the problem that you're suggesting, right? That the creativity dimakan oleh the presence of the so-called dramaturg. But I think it relates to this question of whether we see the dramaturg just as a noun, like there's a dramaturg and that's it, or there's also the dramaturg and there's the verb, that means the doing. So if I dramaturg a process, what is happening? Whether I'm a director or an actor or a designer or a writer or so on and so forth, in which the doing becomes more important. So Leisha talked about the word drama, which is about doing, right? Action. And one definition of dramaturgy is working on action. So any kind of working on action for performance making becomes the way in which one is thinking about it. So it's as simple and as complex of that, whether it's in the micro or the macro or everything else in between. And if the person who is responsible for the bulk of dramaturgical work is the director or is the writer or is the dramaturg or is the whole group, then what is the practice that needs to develop? And that, I think, is the question that we all seem to be asking. What kind of practices need to be built into the process with more conscious attention to some of the questions of depth, some of the questions of composition, coherence, form. I mean, if you're doing participatory dramaturgy, form actually becomes very important because an audience experience can be very superficial and surface. You like interact but nothing. You just have a little conversation and you touch somebody and that's an interaction. It's really superficial. And the dramaturgy of that kind of participatory work is really complicated because it's open-ended, like Ridwan was talking about. You don't know what's going to come up. You don't know who's going to turn up. You don't know what the weather is going to be like and whether the cop is going to stop you from walking down the road that you're supposed to walk, right? So I think all of those kinds of issues become really important when you have to think of what makes it work. And if you're going to work on action, then what is it you want done?
Yeah. Maybe just before closing, I think I want to relate a small anecdote which I shared in the other group. And I think it relates to Fauzi's point actually. Tentang ada tak dramaturgy jikalau tak ada dramaturg. So as an example, Liao Poitin, who was earlier in the room tonight, I think most people in this room would know that satu process through which she structures and composes her performance text as a playwright is to write modules, like scenes that are modular, 1 hingga 10 or 1 hingga 20. And then the way she sequences the performance text is to play a game of chance, is to what she calls tikam-tikam it lah. So, you know, whether it's by rolling dice or by getting the audience to roll a wheel of fortune and then sequence the play. So tonight, the performance might be scene 10 first, and then scene 3, and then scene 7, and then scene... And then tomorrow night, it's a completely different sequence, right? So someone like that is obviously working dramaturgically. And the dramaturgical model, let's say, it's this game of tikam-tikam. So tikam-tikam itu yang mendramaturgkan the experience of the audience in encountering this text and encountering this performance and tonight's sequence. Tomorrow night akan lain. Still the same text, maybe some get chosen again, some don't, and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to share that. So that's an example of maybe dramaturgy existing when a dramaturg is present. But of course, Poitin might argue that she is also a dramaturg in the process. So that's a whole separate conversation. Yeah. So I'm just thinking out loud because I think it's important to point out these things, and maybe that's where her question comes from. It's a good question. Thank you so much, everyone, for kongsiing your time and thoughts about dramaturgy. You know, I don't think there's much more to say except to keep the conversations going, to use each other as resources, and to have more of these kinds of conversations that we don't necessarily have to initiate here at Five Arts, but we would love to participate in other people's conversations. I want to thank Charlene Rajendran for coming up from Singapore this week to be with us. We hope you can come back more and do more dramaturging of conversations with us. Thanks to the 6 panelists, Ridwan, J.S., Sandy, Rensin, Jit Yang, and thanks of course to Janet Pillay for her lecture and her reflections. Yep. Thank you to Kino I team for documentation. And guys, there's makan, there's food, there's tea. Also, Ridwan's Theatre Modular box set ada jual hari ni, dan juga Jit Yang and Gang's new play project ada jual dekat situ alongside some Five Arts propaganda. Thank you very much. See you guys soon.